Parents, this one's for y'all. Y'all listen up now. And I'm this is for anybody that has kids of any age. I don't care if they 4, 14, 44. This is for y'all. It's for all of us, but this is specifically targeted mm, towards any of y'all that have kids. So, what are we talking about today? Let's talk about a concept called loving with strings attached. We all do it. It's an easy trap to fall into if we're not careful. So, where does this come up? How does it affect us? How in the world did we get here? And what do we do to tweak it? This comes in a lot of forms. And more commonly than not, I hear it in one example in particular. And that is, hey, what do you want for your kid? I'll ask as a parent and family mediator and coach. And they will say to me, well, I just want them to be happy. Oh, do you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want them to be happy. It's fine. Let's check on that. You want them to be, you good if they a multi-millionaire, billionaire entrepreneur? Yeah, cool. You cool with them being a hippie that live in a van down by the river and they be catching fish and eating berries and boiling water? Sure. Sound good. Okay. And here it comes. Yeah, that's all fine and good. As long as this is getting y'all into trouble. This has to stop. Stop. Y'all cannot sit here and say to your kids, I just want you to be happy, whatever that means for you, and then include the subordinate clause of as long as, and then bleh, here come y'all agenda. This is killing y'all's relationships with your kids. It's killing them. You do not get to say, as parents, I want XYZ. You can go right ahead, knock yourself out. But I'm telling you now, uh, let me be real clear here. I am not saying you shouldn't have your own opinions. I'm not saying that your opinions or your guidance isn't important. But it it had better be with permission to receive. Let's start there. If your kid has not asked you for your input on what they should be doing with their college career, the classes they should take, their major, the person they're dating, where they want to live, what job they want to explore, industry, but if they haven't asked you for that and you're giving it to them, come on now. This this is causing resentment. It's building. And resentment is like an emotional calcareous tumor. It turns into a giant callus that needs filing down. Go take your sock off right now and look down at the bottom of your foot. Most of you will find something that could be just a little pumice down. Resentment is this same way. It will build up and then it will need filing down. And as it builds up, it is a barrier between you and the kind of intimacy of relationship that you want with your kid. Again, 4-year-old kid, adult kid, I don't care what it is, but you have to start looking at, am I bringing my agenda to the table and letting it get in the way of the quality of relationship that I want, the peace that I want with my kid, the love that I want them to feel from me? We have to take a look at this. And I cannot tell you how many parents, this is an you want to talk about an epidemic? There is a monster, absolute, full on tsunami epidemic of parents out there right now that are basing their sons and daughters' existence, success in college, success about date, all this stuff. It is the one metric they're using as to whether or not they are effective as parents. They are using it through the eyes of the parental ego. And this has got to stop, y'all. This, we are going to wake up in 20 years and have a pile of families that don't have relationships with their parents, where kids and the parents just don't, because guess what? You keep pushing your parental agenda and your preferences onto your kids, particularly if you're doing it without their permission, you do not get to say, I want you to be happy, whatever that means for you, as long as. And here it comes, the laundry lists, the absolute, y'all would not believe some of the stuff that come out of these people's mouths. And it covers the gauntlet. Oh no, it's perfectly fine. I'm totally fine if they go to Yale and that they graduate and want to pursue a degree in finance and make millions of dollars a year, as long as they don't date a person with a certain skin color, date a person with a certain religion, that they don't subscribe to a certain religion, that they don't move to South Dakota, that they don't vote Democrat or Republican. The list goes on and on and on. Let's get it straight right here, right now. You are free to have your opinions. You are free to have your hopes and your dreams and your preferences for your kid. You are free to share it with them if they are asking. You're free to do all that. And unfortunately, you're also free to look at them and present your love to them through those lenses, being satisfied or not. But if you keep doing it, you're going to have resentment building on the back end. I hear from young adults all the time, I don't feel seen by my parents. I don't feel heard by my parents. So what do you mean you don't feel seen? Well, they're telling me that I, my heart belongs in music. I I want to go be a professional musician, and I get told all day every day, there's no money in that. You're, what are you going to do? Run around and teach lessons and, be a professional drummer at wedding gigs? You're not going to ever make any money doing that. You're not going to ever take care of a wife and kids with that, or whatever the story is. We are smashing our kids' hopes and dreams with our own parental agendas and our own parental preferences. And why? Because we are so concerned about what other parents think of us. We think that our neighbors are going, oh my God, That person over there, they just suck as a parent because their kid's just doing this and da da da. One of the greatest lines from Dr. Phil through the years, who I have mixed feelings about, but one of the greatest lines he ever uttered was, if you knew how often people thought of you, you wouldn't care how often they did. In other words, people don't have time to be sitting here thinking about other folks. Take it out. Take it off the menu. Take it out of the equation. Bring it back to love. What do you truly want for your kid? Well, I want them to be happy. With whatever that means for them, absolutely. If you don't know how to release into this, if I may offer a suggestion, would you ever want your child at any point in their life and in their journey to be living their truth, their present day reality, in unhappiness because they thought or felt that they had to go live their lives based on your preferences? If this is your son or daughter's reality, that's scary, y'all. What it means is that your son or daughter is living in a misery that they have attached to you. They are trying to make you happy, and in essence are completely missing the opportunity to make them happy. The very thing that you want for them is now no longer achievable. So let's recap. You are free to have your preferences. You're free to have your opinions. You are absolutely free to share them if you have their permission. If you share them without their permission, guaranteed over time, if it becomes a continuous thing, resentment will develop. I'm not talking like one time. Well, I really just wish you would just go and be a dentist or be a doctor. Okay, cool. Thanks for the input, Ma and Pa. But I'm not gonna go do that. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the consistency of pushing your agenda up against their dreams. Resentment will follow. And if you're not careful, the people pleasers of the world that we are all programmed at birth to be or not to be to some degree, those folks will go more out of their way and put more effort into trying to please you and satisfy your parental agenda than chasing their happiness, their dreams, their inner heart's peace. So, if you are loving with strings attached, try and take a look at that. See where that's coming up. And if you are using the phrases like, well, we did such and such, so you owe us this. Mm-mm. That is that loving with strings attached through the guilt trip all day long. Nobody on this planet, particularly parents to their kids, you do not get to say, here is my love, here is my support, but here's a whole lot of strings and a whole lot of rules that come with it. It's disingenuous, y'all. And it is creating an epidemic of families that live in resentment. And it's dangerous. And it's got to come to an end. So I really, really, really need y'all to hear me on this one. Parents, take a look at where your agenda, your preferences, your ego, your concern about how you think your kid should be showing up in the world or where they should end up, make a list of it, put it on paper, and take really close accountability inventory of where am I shoving my preferences for my kid down their throat. and up into their face without their permission or despite their permission or their God help you, they're telling you to stop. Take a look at it. And you want a powerful conversation starter between you and your kid? Play with this one. Sit down tonight with your son, daughter, sons, daughters, whatever you get. Do it one on one, or maybe as a group family, depending on your household. And just ask them, is there any place that y'all feel like we are stopping you from achieving your dreams, or that we are telling you you need to go in a different direction? Are there places that you don't feel heard, seen, or supported? Are there places that you feel like we are driving our agenda instead of listening to what your heart wants? Your kids will have plenty to say about this. Plenty. Take a good, close look here. I'm going to break down for a minute and be real intimate with y'all. I was I was about, I don't know, 6 years old or something. And I remember it like it was yesterday. My mom had me doing piano lessons in this woman's basement. And she had synthesizers all over the place. And she came to my mom one day and was like, "Look, dude, he he doesn't he doesn't get it." She said, "What didn't he get?" She said, "Any of it." Like, this dude has no interest in anything I'm trying to teach him. He's not there right now. All he wanted to do is play with the helicopter sound effects, right? Because I love that it like do slower, faster, depending on where you're on the keyboard. He said, and she said, "So I'm gonna take him out. I'm gonna have you take him out of it for right now, but because right, we're not gonna force it." He said, "But I'm telling you, dude's got a gift. He's got an ear." So what are you talking about? He has an ear that most music majors would kill for. He said, he's 5 years old and I can see this because he's picking anything up on the piano. But I couldn't read music. And she said, "Listen, you tell him, remember to take his 5 fingers, put it on the 5 black keys on the piano, because they grouped into groups of 2 and 3 that he'll be able to recognize. You just tell him to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if that is all he remembers, he will be a phenomenal piano player one day, maybe, if he decides to fall in love with it." And when thankfully, they didn't push the piano agenda any further. And when I went to college, they had piano in the dorm. And I just went down there one morning and started futzing around on just the black keys. And sure enough, that is how I taught myself to play piano by ear. That's where I started. And so I might not have found the love of piano and found the gift of being able to improv if my parents had said, "Do we shoving this down your throat? You're going to be a classical maestro, da da da." And then they went the opposite way too. I I was banging on stuff from a pretty early age and destroyed one too many pots and pan sets in the house. And so finally one day my dad was like, "All right, dude, we got to say some furniture up in this bitch." he brought home a actual drum pad and some sticks. And I remember feeling so seen and so supported in that moment. And for those of y'all that don't know, I mean, I've been drumming 35, 36 years at this point, and well, longer than that. But it is one of my all-time favorite first loves. Did drumline in college and went and marched drum corps. And for those of y'all that don't know, that's basically professional marching percussion kind of thing. And it was all because my parents didn't push an agenda, but they also listened and aligned with and really dumped a lot of love where I was dumping a lot of love, where my heart center was at. So take a look. There's two places to look here. The first place is that inventory list we talked about, where we say, okay, am I getting in the way of my kids' dreams at all? Am I pushing my agenda, my preferences? But the other place is take a look. If you're single, do it with your kid one on one. If y'all married or you partnered up, get with your partner or your spouse, whomever, and brainstorm together. Hey, where do you see their heart shining? Where do you see their heart aligning with? Make sure y'all on the same page there. And then sit down with your kid and say, look, where is your heart at? Do you feel like we are aligning with it? Are there things that we could say or do that would help you feel loved and supported and aligned with your heart's desire, your heart's peace? They'll tell you. Promise you. Promise they will tell you. And with that, let's wrap up with this. It is okay for any of your kids to have interests that come and go. You don't ever want to say something to them like, oh man, I think it's real sad that you just stopped playing soccer. You put so many years into it. You've been out there on the field since you was 3 and you just done. You don't want to push the message that they're somehow failing you for following their heart. Talents are going to come and go, interests are going to come and go, and expressions of those interests and talents are going to come and go as well. Again, I get a little bit vulnerable with y'all. And this isn't me picking on my mama, but it's a great example. When I left high school, I originally was given a scholarship to go drum over at Georgia Southern. And I went down there for the audition camp and, played the audition piece from memory, and like they offered me this scholarship, but in my heart, on the 4 hours down and the 4 hours back, I was sick to my stomach because I felt like I was doing it. My mom said one thing to me that I will never forget. She said, I think you're going to miss it. And I was scared I was going to miss it. But deep down in my heart, I knew I was done with the organized piece of it. I had just, I felt complete in that part of my journey. I just wanted to continue drumming on my own terms, on my own pad, in the dorm room, with friends out in the field, whatever. But I didn't want to be waking up every morning, putting on a polyester uniform, learning drill, rehearsing new. I was done with that. And it broke my heart at the time to say to my mom, dude, I can't do this. I I declined my scholarship. Turned it down. She said, what are you talking about? You gave away free money? You gave back free money for doing something you're good at? Now, I want to validate my mom here for a minute. This was coming from a woman who watched her kid go to kindergarten twice. And y'all be out here like, what? You failed? How the hell you fail finger painting? Man, I didn't fail no finger paint. They wanted me to write on the dotted line and cut on the dotted line and color in the dotted line. And I didn't give a shit. I didn't have the maturity or the, mandible dexterity to do any of that shit. All I wanted to do was play with the letter people and chase girls. That's it. I've been a Don Juan since I was little. And I just did not have the maturity for that. Well, it broke her heart that she felt like I was a failure when I was little. And for me to have that moment in college where somebody was screaming, hey, dude, we believe in you. You are a success for doing something you love. And here's free money for it. And you going to turn that down? And I said, but I'm done. And it took a minute for my mom to go, If you feel like you're done, I respect that. And that was one of the most relieving things in the whole world I ever heard from her, because it showed me, no, she wanted me to follow my dreams. She wasn't loving me with strings attached. So take a look. Maybe y'all can take a deep look inside and find a spot where you can be a little bit more aligned with your kids' dreams. And if they change their mind on something and they let something go, let them be done with it. You might be sad to see it go because you're excited to see them love something so much. But if they're done loving a thing, that's part of their journey. And if you can love them in part of their journey and love them for being on their journey, they will feel loved and supported. They will not feel the resentment that we've been talking about and referencing. So I hope y'all took something from this. Hope you learned a thing or two. If you didn't, that's okay too. Try to not love with strings attached. Love y'all.